This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. We better watch what we're saying.
There goes the witness protection program.
So how you been, Robert?
Been doing good, bud.
Cool.
Trying to stay out of the smoke. The West Coast is just horrible with smoke right now with all the California fires.
Yeah, yeah. How about you, Jason? You staying busy with rotaries?
Living the dream, yeah. Staying.
Awesome.
You know the struggles I'm having.
Right, right. Well, that's good struggle.
Yeah.
So, and Laura, I see you on here. How are you today? She may just want to listen in. Looks like she's unmuted, but anyway, I guess I was kind of hoping we'd have a few more people. Wait, I need to open my chat. Okay, I see. She's having some audio issues. That's no problem. I'll leave the chat window open so we can see what's up. We'll give her a chance to get that fixed up. So as far as stuff that's going on over here, besides that video I need to get done, I've got some stuff coming for Odin. I got a little 4-inch AC Infinity cloud line for it because it's got a 4-inch duct and all that good stuff. And I may plumb it into that Cali Air. I don't know. I might just use the stock pump on it right now, but I'm waiting on a head because my nozzle, my cone is the wrong size and it interferes with the autofocus because this Odin has the plunger on the head for the autofocus and the nozzle's the wrong length. So I'm not able to autofocus, but as soon as I get the right nozzle for that thing or that redesigned head, I'm going to start making some videos on Odin and seeing what that thing can do. Cause you can alter the frequency of that RF beam, you know, and affect contrast and all kinds of stuff. So that's the way my ULS was. It's pretty neat for engraving. So I'm going to dig into some high resolution engraving. So that might be a little dangerous.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole. A good one, just a rabbit hole.
Right. Yeah, so it'll be neat, but that thing's quick, man. 2,000 millimeters per second. It really looks like I thought it was going to break the first time I sent a file to it. I was about ready to hit the e-stop button, you know?
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was just nuts. It'd been so long, you know, because I had that ULS that was about that fast. And then I got into the K40s and the clones, and I never would get above 300 millimeters per second on any of those Chinese clones because they just rattle apart after that, you know?
Right.
So, and then, you know, after I saw, and then of course the Nova, you know, 1,000 millimeters per second, that's pretty snappy, but man, this other one gave me some fits.
Yeah, stand back, get out of the way.
Yeah. Can't wait to see the new one that comes out.
So, Laura, you can phone in as well if you like. There's a phone number. I might be able to find it for you, and you could actually call in with your phone and use that for audio if you like. I'm trying to look for that. She's still having some audio trouble. So let me see if I can find where to do that. Let's see. There we go. Copy meeting link. Well, I don't see the number. I know it's in here somewhere.
What are you looking for?
There's a phone number that goes with this meeting thing, and you can actually dial in using your phone for audio instead of using your computer mic or whatever.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got it here. I think it's 224-501-3412.
224
501
501
3412.
3412. I'm just gonna put that in the comments. Looks like Gary popped in here. How you doing, Gary? His audio's not on yet. I want to see how he's coming along on that 51. You know, he had the Nova 35. Well, he had the same wattage though, so I don't know if he'd notice a big difference. He just basically got a bigger size. But you know, we've been looking at that stuff about the 100-watt tubes. been one or two instances, and it may not just be on the 100 watts, I'm not sure, where the arc on the anode looks a little funny, that fan out, and it makes some banding. That's one thing that I dealt with earlier. But I don't know that Gary's ever seen that on his. So I don't think it's a huge deal. It's just the way CO2, DC excited tubes work. So I don't think it's anything wrong. I think it just is what it is, but it's shown up a time or two. But
I had something show up yesterday, Brian, that I hadn't seen before. I was doing I had ordered some aluminum anodized 12 by 24 sheets from JDS that are approved for outdoor use. They've got like a sapphire coating on them. And I was doing some signs yesterday, and no matter what I did, I would get there was about a 3/4 inch wide band. And so you had like 6 different colors of bands, and it engraves to gray. It doesn't engrave to silver. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get rid of that banding. I plugged and I've never had a problem with banding on anything else I've ever done. Right. And I flat could not get that to work yesterday. I couldn't kick out a sign yesterday that was, at least on that particular media. All right. The rest of them looked great, except that one, man. It was about every 3/4 of an inch, and they were all different colors all the way across. Do you know what might cause that?
What power were you running?
Well, I was running, it looked like to me after my test, I was running 350 at about 55% power on that 60 watt.
Yeah, I don't think that would have anything to do with the being close to the striking voltage or the ionization threshold. No, so I don't think that's it. Maybe optics, but here's the thing. If all your other stuff looked good, I would tend to lean toward that material having an issue.
Yeah, it was just the outdoor. It was just the
perfect storm,
Yeah, it was just weird. All the rest of them, I did, I don't know, 26 big signs yesterday, and 25 of them turned out fine. But this one that has got the sapphire coating, no matter what I did, I couldn't get it to work.
That's wild. And it's just aluminum underneath?
Yeah, it's just but you don't see the aluminum. In other words, you're engraving, it was a black sign, and when you engrave it, it engraves to gray, and you can see that that's kind of the subcoating.
I see. So the bare aluminum's not exposed. You're just going into that second layer.
Yep.
I see. Maybe that layer was faulty. You never know. I mean, it could have been something.
I had 3 different pieces of it, and I did a test run on the first piece to dial in my settings, and it looked great as long as you stayed with your pattern broken up. But once you got like big block letters where you're exposing a lot of underneath, it just looked like hell. I just couldn't make it work. I was just curious. Like I said, I tried different settings. I did everything I could, plug my chiller into another circuit.
Right.
Nothing fixed it.
Yeah, that would probably eliminate the temperature and probably electrical anomalies too. So you may try another power. It may be the way that is being modulated at that time. I was watching one of Russ Sadler's videos about how that, how the beam is affected just by the gantry moving back and forth and the timing of the pulses, and that plays into that big rabbit hole with the higher power tube and the higher striking voltage and all of that. And sometimes you just find a setting that just does weird stuff. There's not anything really wrong. It's just the nature of the beast. And you can usually dial right out of it. That one that I went to Kentucky to look at that was banding real bad that I did that article on. We did the same thing. We even tried a new chiller. I took my chiller up there. I took another laser power supply, to eliminate electrical and temperature and any kind of line noise and that kind of thing. And it turned out to be, if he'd run it 30% instead of 27, it would go away. So it's weird. So you may try slowing down and upping your power, or vice versa, just to see if it affects a change. I didn't have time to kind of dial it in, spend a ton of time getting it dialed in. So I'm just going to have to do that. But good to know.
Did you happen to try multiple passes?
I did not try multiple. I mean, each one of these signs took about an hour as it was.
Okay.
And so, I just couldn't eat up that kind of time. But
I was just curious. just curious if it like always maybe like didn't fire in that spot, then you could maybe say it was the laser. But if it like eventually did eat away in that area,
Yeah,
like
the only thing that I did notice is if I just backed down my air supply to just literally a whisper, it was a little bit more consistent, but it wasn't consistent enough to let it go.
Well, acrylic is that way. When you're engraving acrylic, you can adjust your air and dramatically change the contrast. I mean, dramatically. So, I mean, it may have to do with that.
Yeah,
Just
could be.
whatever that composition is. You're scared to get down on the lower limits, though, because if you don't have positive pressure in that cone, it could,
Right.
of course,
Exactly.
get smoke back up in the lens. But,
Yeah.
with that being just a 2 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter orifice, it'd take a while
Sure.
to foul the lens. But
Thanks, guys.
yep. Hey, Ron, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
What's new with you?
Oh, not much. Minnesota decided it's warmed up, I guess now. It's like 60 degrees out, but the last few days, like we went from like 80s or so down to
Yeah.
like 40. So it's like it's been cold the last few mornings.
Yeah, it's a little cooler here too by, 20 degrees or so. Or 15, which is good. Nice cool breeze anyway. So cool. So where are you at on your laser voyage?
I'm about the same place I was last week. Still maybe a couple months away, but I enjoy like coming to these and like learning like you guys learning like the features of the machine that I don't know about and kind of hearing like how good your support is. Like the fact that you guys take questions like this just on a weekly basis is really cool to see. That said, I did have another question that popped up in mind. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago or something when I attended. I think we were talking about the laser has power outlets in the back of it to power like the chiller and the exhaust fan, but the recommendation seems to be like run separate circuits for those if possible, so that
if they're going to build those into the machine, then the machine ought to be able to be capable of that. And I mean, as far as the wiring goes, it'll handle it. I think you'll be okay. Those have started rolling out with the chiller being powered by the machine, and it's powered by the same circuit that the laser power supply is on, by the way. So the way that works is your power comes in your main input on the laser. It goes to the main power switch, and then the laser power switch underneath it controls the laser power supply and the chiller. So those are the only two things on that switch. And the wiring and everything is substantial enough that it can handle it. So I think it'll be fine. Now, if you run an external compressor, you'll want to have it on an external circuit just because you don't want to overload the laser. Not used to, running a piece of equipment like that.
So that's actually related to my question, because even if I don't do like a separate circuit for the exhaust, like I would likely use shop power shop air for my air assist. And the Lightburn software, or is it the laser itself, tells those when to turn on when a job is active, right?
Yeah, so that's part of the dual assist, dual stage air assist. And the way that works is if you turn air off in Lightburn, if you turn air assist off in a layer, that's going to be the low stage.
Okay.
Whatever you set the knobs at, both knobs, both stages are identical. You can make both of them output the highest air or the lowest air. It's just gonna matter on which stage you choose. They mark a low and a high. So off in Lightburn means low air engrave.
Okay.
And air assist on means it'll be the high stage.
So if I use like the air assist or the aquarium pump that comes with the laser, for example, and it's plugged into the laser, It just automatically turns on when the laser turns on, right?
Yes. So when you start a job on the laser, it'll start the exhaust fan and it'll start the
Yep.
air assist pump. And then after the job, the air assist will turn off, and
Mm-hmm.
then the exhaust will continue to run for 15 seconds afterwards to eliminate any residual smoke, and then it'll shut itself down. And
Okay.
that's controlled by the TL timer board, and those timers are adjustable. So, if you wanted to just stay on longer, let's say you did acrylic, and those fumes stayed around, you
Just
can bump it up to 30 seconds, and that way
or
the
like 2 hours to get the
yeah,
putrid smell out of there.
right. But it's all automatic, and that's all controlled. Now, if you go with an aftermarket or an upgraded exhaust,
Yep.
which again, everybody's doing all these upgrades, and that brings me back to the old, Chinese clone days where you had to upgrade a machine to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just want to make sure everybody realizes these machines come ready to work. You don't have to upgrade them. It's just something everybody's doing, like a bolt-on supercharger on your V8 Mustang or something. But that said, those aftermarket inline fans draw about a quarter of the amount of power that big centrifugal fan does if you've got a Nova 35 or up. If you've got a Nova 24, it already comes with an inline fan. So you can hook your inline fan, your aftermarket inline fan, up to the laser, and it'll still work through the laser and be controlled by it.
Okay. Yeah, because that was my question, is if you went with an external fan. Well, I guess
the external compressor will plug in anywhere because it'll operate on its own.
right.
It does, as
But
long
like
as
it would have to be a separate. There's no way of like telling the laser to turn it on if it's on a separate circuit, though. So I guess my question.
Well, yeah. Well, the air compressor is still controlled by the laser in the fact that the laser just needs to get air to it. After that, there's two solenoids in there that choose low or high. So when you plug your compressor up, you just let it run all the time. And then the laser will just kick the air on whichever stage you select when it needs it. And then they'll be off the rest of the time, so you're not just blowing air. So yeah, they are solenoid controlled. The main power for the external air will not be controlled by the laser, but the inflow of the air will be. So.
Gotcha. And you were saying if I were to choose to get like an inline exhaust fan or like an upgraded one, are you talking about, I forget what it's called, but there's like this really nice one that people use for like their home.
That's the AC Infinity.
Yeah, that one.
The Cloudline series. Yeah, the S series are the ones that I have. I've got a 6 and
you said that draws typically way less power than
the centrifugal fans do. Okay. On the Nova 35 and up, they come with a big capacitor start quarter horse centrifugal fan, big loud dude. The Nova 24, it doesn't come with an ultra quiet fan, but it is an inline fan. It's significantly quieter. A lot of people choose to just run it and not upgrade, I think.
What's the Nova 35 come with? The same one?
The Nova 35 all the way to the 63 come with the big centrifugal fan, the noisy, big green squirrel cage fan. Yeah.
But would a AC Infinity work on that one?
Oh yeah.
Work on a Nova 35? Okay.
Oh yeah.
It moves enough air to.
Yeah, I've got a 6-inch because that was the size of the duct work, but I think the 8-inch almost matches the cubic feet per minute of the stock exhaust fan almost perfectly, because it's right at 500 cubic feet per minute is what that exhaust fan, the stock exhaust fan on the Nova 35 and use. So, it's like 480 cubic feet per minute or something like that. And I think the 8-inch gets closer to that. I've got a 6-inch on mine, and it's fine. I don't get a lot of smell and residual odor, but it's a little slow to start because they have to spool up to get to full speed. So you'll notice a little smoke, just kind of lingering at the beginning as that fan spools up. And then after it gets to full power, it evacuates everything okay. But there is a little bit of a delay because those centrifugal fans, they come up quick. So
can you with that in mind, what you just said is, you said there's like timers and stuff you can change. Is there a setting you could change to like wait for it to start cutting until the exhaust fan is like all the way spun up?
No, there's not a start. There's not a head start button.
Start delay.
Yeah, as soon as the laser fires the machine to come to ready, the fan gets that power immediately. It's just the physical properties of the fan having to, centrifugal force and stuff like that. It's got to overcome gravity.
Yeah.
All that to get the fan to spool up. But no, there's no no setting on the front end so that it'll delay the machine while another piece of equipment gets ready. So.
Sure. Okay. I'm wondering if then maybe if I am planning to get like an AC Infinity at some point, um, and I don't want there to be smoke buildup, even a little necessarily, like inside the machine while it spools up, if it were plugged into the laser's power. I wonder if it would make sense just to have a separate switch for that, so I can just switch it on before I like turn on the laser. Like that's part of turning on the laser, turning on a few different switches.
Yeah, you can do that since these are that quiet, and some people may do that. It comes with a little controller.
Yeah,
A wire.
It's like a for thermostat kind of thing.
Yeah, you can plug it on. You could plug it up to its own circuit and turn it on and let it get spooled up before you run your laser. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the laser or the makerspace I use, like there's like a little checklist of all the things you got to turn on. Like you got to turn on the laser with the key, you got to turn on the air assist switch, you got to turn on the chiller switch, and you got to turn on the exhaust fan switch. So there's like I'm used to like that being part of my process of like flipping. Like I feel like an old like switchboard controller, like
Like you get the space shuttle ready.
Yeah, exactly. And then I lift like a big red button covered in a plastic acrylic display case, and then press fire. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Yeah. So that was basically my question, is like if I were to do an external exhaust like on its own circuit, if there's like any way of like either via software or hardware like linking it up to the laser, but if not, that's not the end of the world. Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey Joe, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Doing well. So I noticed you popped in. Do you have any questions or comments while we're just kind of
I've got a quick question.
Ideas? Sure.
So I'm a glass artist and I do fused glass, and one of the things you can get in fused glass is this. This is black art glass with an iridescent coating on it, and I've tried a little bit. Here's a red one with the same. I'll get it to show you. It does engrave, but it's obviously quite shiny. So I'm just wondering, am I setting myself up for a world of trouble by engraving shiny things?
Well, glass doesn't actually get ablated by the laser, meaning it won't vaporize the glass. It causes little tiny microfractures, and that's what you get your frosted look.
Well, it's more because it's like a slightly metallicized coating. So
I think he's worried about the mirror aspect.
Yeah, I'm just,
there could be reflection there as well, and that could be a part of it. But I don't know if you'll ever get it not shiny unless you actually burn through that top layer, and which doesn't really happen,
well,
with
that's
glass.
I mean, that's what I mean. The iridescent coating will engrave because I did that piece.
I see. So
I'm really after engraving the coating off to reveal the glass underneath is what I'm trying to do here, which does work. But yeah, my concern really was, I mean, I've done other glass stuff and it's all great, but it's really just the iridescent stuff. If is the extra reflections going to be an issue?
Yeah, it may be with your output. I don't think it'll hurt the laser. I mean, or anything like that. I mean, that'll just be something you might be able to dial it in, a little bit finer and find a good sweet spot on what your settings are. But I think that'll be the main thing there.
Okay, so I just really wasn't, wanting to make sure I wasn't going to do any damage to anything. If there's like extra reflection going on.
Reflectivity there for that to bounce back and do anything. I mean, think about it when you're doing a mug or a tumbler or something like that. You're hitting stainless or something super reflective, all the time anyway. So I don't think that level of it would cause any problems. So you can probably pour the powder to it if you want to and see how much contrast you can get out of it.
Well, I could. I mean, I did these ones. This is without the iridescent coating, but it's
I see.
That's just on straight black art glass. So
that's neat looking. Yeah, that's a neat.
Thanks. Yeah, it's fun to try different things. And I'm finding that you can hit black glass with a bit more welly than like clear glass. Because the clear glass you have to be quite fine with to get the decent settings. But like you were saying last week about it flaking off when you hit it too much power. But black glass seems to absorb a bit more power, so you can kind of need it
Yeah. Well,
a
that's
little
kind of
bit
like
more.
black tumblers, the powder coat. They tend to laze easier and
Right.
accept laser more readily than say pink or light blue. I think those are my worst ones. The
Huh.
pink, maybe
Interesting.
white. Jason probably knows a whole lot more about that. He probably burns a lot more cups than I do. But
I've only burnt one color of cup, and it was that sand color. It's a kind of a light beige, and it took a bit of getting through, sort of
yeah.
more than I was expecting. It wasn't terrible,
What was
but
that,
yeah.
Brian?
We were just talking about how mug color or the powder coating color can affect, how readily it's laced.
Yeah.
And the output, I seem to have more. And of course, I mentioned you because you've probably done a million times more cups than I've ever done. I don't know if you've seen that across the same brands of materials or certain colors or what.
It's usually by brand and by color. The darker the color, the harder it is to get off, because it tends to stain the material, i.e. the stainless steel underneath it. But typically, I just, after I hit it, obviously you want a test cup for about everything you have. So if you have a JDS, you have a Yeti, or Polar Camel, or whoever you use, you want to have a test cup to be able to kind of dial in your settings for that particular material. And you want to overdo it a little bit more than underdo it, because sometimes the coating's a little bit thicker, even though it's the same material, the same cup, the same whatever. The material could be thicker. And typically you don't want to have to rerun a cup on a rotary, just because the inherent chance that it may not go back to
Be
its
perfectly aligned.
true origin, depending on your settings that you have. So yeah, it's typically better just to do it a little bit hotter than you would, and then use a magic eraser. I use a magic eraser and ammonia-free, kind of like a Windex solution, um, to clean mine up with. It's fairly easy. There's other things you can use too, but you just got to make sure that it's compatible with your coating on your cup as well. Because some cups you might be able to put acetone on, some you might be able to put denatured alcohol, and just adversely you might not be able to use it on, like, say, a Yeti, because it'll bleach the cup or stain it or make it run, because there's two different kinds of coating typically: the Duracoat and powder coat. So they react different to different chemicals, so you kind of gotta figure that out as well.
What's the difference between Duracoat and powder coat? Is one of them electrolysis and one just a sprayed on coating or something?
They're both a powder
compositions.
They're both a powder-based coating. It's almost like the difference between like Surmark and Duramark.
Okay.
They're both the same type of material, but they both adhere, and their composition when they're lasered are different.
Yeah.
Even though they're both kind of the same.
Gotcha.
They have the same principle, the same concept.
Right.
So Duracoat tends to be more chemically soluble than powder coat. Powder coat's a little bit more durable when it comes to chemicals. Duracoat tends to, like, I don't know if you ever watched Mancrafting or some of the other channels that deal with a lot of powder coating and Duracoating, but I think Robert or somebody touched on it last week or the week before about how you wrap it up, put it on towels and foil, and let it sit, and it eats away the coating.
Yeah.
Duracoat's more susceptible to that than powder coating.
Yeah, I know they make a special solution just for powder coat, and it's pretty expensive. A stripper that's made just for that, for some of those. But
yeah, I gotta step away for a minute.
Okay. And looks like we got John on here. How's it going, man?
Real good. How about you?
Doing well. Doing well. So how have you been getting along?
I've been inching along and making progress as I'm inching along.
Awesome. Well, I don't hear much out of you, so don't be afraid to reach out. You gotta keep me in a job, man. Kind
I'm
of hard
making
looking for Thunder in under support because there's not a whole lot of support needed with them.
I'm making a list. Don't worry about it. It'll be
Okay,
this way. When I get you, I can get you for a long time.
right.
In fact, it might be so much that the list will be so long, I might have to come to New York. I'll treat you to pizza, and you can take care of all my problems.
Man, I'll take it. The closest I got to New York pizza both times that I was there was New Jersey. I never could find a place open over in Midtown or anything past 6 o'clock for some reason. I guess I didn't know where to go. But
Yeah. Well, Jersey makes good pizza. It's a close second. Let's put it that way. And then
gotcha.
you got to try New York bagels. I mean, nothing like having bagels and cream cheese in New
Yeah.
York.
Man, one of my favorite things, we went to Central Park and one of these vendors had fried potato cakes, and those were the best things I've ever put in my mouth ever, I think. They were super duper. And they had a cow at the zoo, which is a little strange for me because there's like millions of them around me.
And a cow at the zoo.
Yeah,
Can I ask you one little question? On,
absolutely.
on I make something in Lightburn and I send it to the laser, and the laser does its thing,
Okay.
and then I'll go back and work on Lightburn again and do something else, and I go to send it to the laser went to sleep. Now I have to reconnect it. I have to hit device and select the controller before I can send the job over. So does the laser have a timeout? Is it like when it sits?
Are you using USB? Because Windows may have a USB timeout that we need to set. Um, I see that. That's nice. Sorry, John.
It's okay.
Jason was flashing something in the camera. Um, and there's an easier way than actually left clicking that devices button and going and clicking through. You can hover over that devices button and right click, and it'll reset your connection.
Okay.
But ultimately, I would check my Windows settings and make
Okay.
sure that any USB power functions are maxed out or disabled or whatever it sounds like would be the right call in
Okay.
those settings. But yeah, it doesn't really have a sleep timer. The communications can get interrupted. USB is susceptible to noise and things like that. It's reliable, but as with
Right.
anything, there's always an exception. But yeah, typically if you just right click the device button, that'll do a real quick reset, so you don't have to go through all those motions.
Yeah, because it
Um,
definitely happens every time.
okay,
If I send something over to the laser cuts it. I go back and do a little something in Lightburn and try to send another job over.
okay,
I'll have to wake the laser up. I'll have to hit devices, click the controller, and then it works fine.
gotcha. Yeah, I think that might be in those Windows power settings. The other thing is you could try a different USB cable, just to eliminate a variable. Sometimes the USB cables can get a little noise in them.
Okay.
So that may be, but it sounds more like you hit the nail on the head. It's a timeout issue probably, and probably
Yeah,
going to
it
be,
looks like it's timing out because if I
yeah,
do it right away, one after another, it's not a problem. But if I
yeah,
let a few minutes pass, it seems to time out, and then I have to wake it up to send the job over.
right, yeah. And are you running Windows 10?
Yes, and I'm using Packet USB as your suggestion.
Okay. Does your sequencing seem to be okay when you choose high or low? I mean, does it seem to be doing?
Oh yeah, the air is not a problem. The air
Okay.
seems to be fine. If I say no air, it'll just put out a little bit of air. If I click the air assist, it'll hit all the way. That's
Gotcha.
working fine. It's just a timeout. It's not a big deal. It's just I have to remember to do it because I'll send the job. I'll try to send the job, and then it'll tell me whatever it says, no connection or whatever. And I
Hmm.
say to myself, "Stupid! You got to remember to do that." And then I just do it.
Right.
But
So
I'll check the timing in Windows to see if there is a timeout.
yeah, in Windows, if you go to the control panel and look for your power options and then go into the advanced settings of the plan that's selected, there'll be a selection in there under USB settings that says USB selective suspend. That might be it. I've got mine
Okay.
disabled. Um, And there may be another place. I can look up an article and shoot it to you. If you run into trouble or can't find it, I'll be glad to help research what needs to be changed in there to help affect that change.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was something on the controller.
Yeah, no, the controller is what it is. It's actually pretty simple. So there aren't any timeout functions or, you know, power saving or any of that kind of stuff on the controller at all. So
But I'll work on that later.
and
Hey, Brian,
yeah,
your new toy will be there tomorrow.
yeah, and I saw it. I've got that informed delivery or whatever thing. I can't wait. I'm getting
Yeah.
the full Rotoboss. What's it? It's actually the Rotoboss. That's like the flagship model, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's got both towers are adjustable. Both of them have lead screws on them, so you can adjust both sides. So that's
Yeah,
going to be neat.
both sides adjust anywhere from 65 to about 85 millimeters on either side.
Well, I've got some stemless wine glasses that I want to try, so that'll be perfect.
There you go. You'll have fun with it.
It looks like
then hopefully,
what's that?
I was gonna say, then hopefully everybody else will be able to have fun with it too.
Right. They're neat. And I see Patrick on here. How are you, Patrick? He may be just going to listen as well. So there we go.
Hey, I'm good. Just
Hey, buddy.
listening.
Okay. Do you have any questions or anything? If you do, you can just jump right on in.
Actually, I do have one. I took a version of Lightburn and put it on my home computer using my second key, and I did some work the other night in Lightburn, a couple layouts, and you know, the offset function where, you know, you take, say, font and you can offset it out or in.
Right.
I did that. I welded everything together. Everything was all welded perfect. And I came to the office the next day and I went to send it to the laser and I looked at it and it was off. It was almost like the lettering in the inside shifted. It was totally weird. I couldn't get it to, I had to like recreate part of the logo again. And I didn't know it was something I did or it was just, I don't know. It was really weird. I took, I don't think I took, I have the old one. I have the old file.
Could you send that to me? And I'll
Yeah.
have a look at it and see if I can come up with anything.
Yeah, I'll send you both. I'll send both of them to you so you can see what the original one that I did that ended up getting skewed, and then the new one that I did that looks
Okay.
right. I cut it last
Okay.
night. It came out perfect.
Right. And you did them on the same computer, and there was just a time difference in between.
No. I did one at home on Sunday or Monday, and then when I came into work on Tuesday, I opened it up on my computer at the office and sent it to the laser, and it was off. So.
Gotcha.
But it was the artwork. It wasn't the laser. It was definitely in Lightburn. So.
Right. I'm trying to think if you don't have a device set up or if they're set up differently, if that'll make a difference. I don't think it does in the dimensions or as far as whatever the units of measure are natively. I think it's all in millimeters, but
yeah. I kind of toggle sometimes between millimeters and inches, you know, on that top button. But for the most part, I kind of keep it all in millimeters.
Gotcha. But yeah, send me those files. I'll look at it and see if I can glean any information off those, you know.
Which email do you want me to send it to? Support?
You can send it to, yeah, that's fine. That'll create a ticket, but that's fine. That should probably be a ticket anyway. So, yeah.
What was the other thing? The other thing was just I kind of picked up on, I was cutting some wood on Friday before I left the office. I posted some pictures into the forum that I cut. It's a fishing rod rack, and the circles are actually to hold the rods in. And I noticed that when I cut the circles and the laser was operating, I think it was clockwise, I had a little bit of backlash there on the circle. But then as it got to the top part, the circles were counterclockwise and there was no backlash. I don't know.
There's a setting in your optimization settings in that optimization settings button, and it'll open up a modal window, and you need to look for hide backlash, I believe is what it's called, and toggle that on, and that should help with that. That's the same thing as backlash. Well, it's not exactly the same thing. It does kind of the same thing that backlash repay does in RDWorks.
Yeah.
So I'd make sure that that's toggled on. If that keeps happening, definitely mention that too and show us some pictures of that, and then we'll dig a little deeper in that as well and make sure everything's in order.
Okay. Yeah, it was something I threw together to try, and it just was weird. Like the first like 6 holes cut, and I could see that. And like I said, it's a fishing rod rack. It wasn't a big deal, but it was noticeable. But when it cut in the other direction, it was fine. It was like it was not noticeable at all. So I didn't know about that setting in backlash, the backlash setting, but also I didn't know if there was a way when you're cutting circles to tell it to cut clockwise or counterclockwise, if that was an issue.
I believe there is that much control in there somewhere with those optimization settings. I believe you can do some of that stuff. I'll have to read up on it.
Yeah.
But I also think I have another document or two that addressed some backlash issues with circles not closing.
Yeah.
And they're related, to some mechanical things on there that may need some adjustment.
Okay.
So I can send you those as well. I'm not really thinking that's what it's going to be, with it this new. But things get out of whack sometimes. It's a pretty precision instrument, so
Yeah.
it doesn't take much to get it out of whack. So we can definitely look at that too. If you'll be sure and mention that in the ticket, that would be super.
Okay. I can do that. Any of those files, my email. We're switching over today, so I don't have email right now, but I'll send them to you later when I get back in there. And that's about it. I've been, cutting a lot of wood, engraving a lot of wood like I do, and trying to get a little bit. I'm building up. You know what I mean? Like I'm used to doing things in the Glowforge, so I'm like doing one piece at a time. Now I'm building up. I'm up to 5 pieces at a time, which is nice, and hoping to build out to 15. But the time savings has been ridiculous. I mean, it was taking me 45 minutes to cut one of my boards, like for a certain customer, and it takes me like 8 minutes in the Thunder, and the quality is so much better. It's ridiculous. But I mean, I'm cutting 5 in less time than it was taking me to cut 1.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How was your transition from Glowforge to Thunder as far as the learning curve and the software and just that whole experience?
It's not too bad. I'm pretty well versed in Illustrator, so I was, when I started, I was still doing my art in Illustrator and then bringing it into Lightburn, but I'm getting a little more confident with Lightburn. Some of my the trace function, to me, at least in my opinion, the trace function in Lightburn blows the Adobe version out. And I don't know if it's just because Adobe's got so many different settings in there that, what they consider a default or what they consider like the usable one really isn't. I mean, you got to really go in there and really dial different things in, but whether it's grayscale, black and white, color, curves. I mean, to me, I want the quickest way of doing it. And some of the videos that Chris has posted lately have been awesome. I mean, he did that one with the vector yesterday, I think it was the day before. And I mean, I do a lot of that. So, there was a couple things he did there that just were major time savers in like how I do things. And there were keys that I use in Illustrator that I didn't know that I could do to take over to Lightburn. So, for me, the transition's been great. Like I said, some of my basic boards, I've been doing 100% Lightburn. But if I have some complicated things that I need different things on, I've been doing them in Illustrator. But I think I'm probably more like 80% Lightburn now. And like I said, Illustrator still has its functions for me.
Sure.
But I mean,
Lightburn's not the magic bullet. They're adding more and more stuff. But if you got to do a lot of heavy lifting, especially in the vector suite, then you're right. AI would be the way to go, or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, his tracing engine is based off of Inkscapes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
What do they call it? Sketch trace toggle, though, is awesome, especially for handwritten stuff.
Handwriting. Yeah. I think Mark made a comment one day. He was talking about we were talking about Illustrator and Lightburn, and he said something about what did he talk about? Man, it went right out of my head. It was about the tracing, but it was something he talked about. He said to check something, and I went and I looked at it. I was like, man, like that's huge. I mean, like, like I said, the edit. He said he passed a comment. He said, get really familiar with editing your nodes, because like when you do traces and different things you need to do with the nodes, And I was in Lightburn one night, and I was playing with it, and I was like, man, I can't figure this out for my life. I'm just going to go back to Illustrator, where I know I'm confident I can edit all my nodes and everything. Well, the next day I sat down and I went into that the Lightburn thing he emailed us, that with all the shortcuts and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a node button. You click on it, and it was like, holy
Boom.
cow, man, this made Illustrator look like calculus. You know, I mean,
the
as far as
Boolean functions in there are awesome too. You know, so they've done a great job on it. Absolutely.
But I was frustrated because I was trying to delete nodes out and reshape things, and I was hitting the delete button, and it was just gone. And undo it, start over, keep going, and you use the D button if you want to delete a specific node. And it's like you can select multiple nodes, hit the D button, and it just takes out that section.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was like popping parts of the art out like in 3 seconds. It was crazy. Yeah.
Nice.
And but no, that's really powerful. I mean, like I'm getting used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm glad the transition is smooth. I mean, we're starting to see a lot more people talk about, you know, they're coming from Glowforge or we're considering Glowforge, and especially over the last couple months. And it's kind of strange because, you know, I'd say about 80% of their revenue has to go back out to marketing. I mean, their marketing is incredible. You know,
ask if they want to buy one. I've got one for sale.
You ought to hang on to that as a conversation piece. You never know.
Yeah, I thought about it, but
or you could put a nice piece of glass on top of it, make it a coffee table or something. You know.
Coat angle. I live in Florida, so. I just had it repaired. You know, I mean, you know what was going on when I bought my Thunder, so I literally set my Thunder up, and I don't think I've turned the Glowforge on since then. I haven't run one thing through it, so it's nice and clean. It's ready to
ready to go.
Back out.
Sure. But good luck on that part too. Hopefully you can recover some of that. So
they shockingly they sell very well. There's a bunch of different user forums on Facebook that people are looking for them locally. So I mean, you know, I was an original Kickstarter with them, so I got a good price on it. So I can almost sell it for what I paid for it back then. So you got to go, you know, pay down my Thunder.
Right.
But yeah, it's great, man. I'm really excited, and like some of the stuff we're learning too. I mean, like through these avenues, and then also in the forums, they're great. I mean, just put something there today. I've got someone who contacted me and wants to do some engraving on leather, but they want color fill. So I'm trying to figure that out, and I know I put it in there. I had a couple responses already from people that were talking about it. So.
Yeah, I looked at that a little bit, and it looks like that leather can behave a lot like wood, especially if you used a water-based or a solvent-based stain or paint. I think it can still leach into the leather and all that. So I'm not real sure exactly. I saw some mention of just using acrylic paint, masking it and then just using the acrylic paint. I don't know about bonding and adhesion and how long it lasts or any of that stuff, or what you're going to do post-process that could affect it. But that may take a little bit of experimentation.
Yeah, I asked the high school. I'm like, well, if you want to provide a few footballs, I'll look at them. They're like, well, they're $100 a piece. And I was like, well, I'll do them if you want. I mean, I like the look of just the straight engrave, the dark brown, because it'll never wear off the football. But want some color in there, so
I think Chris even did a basketball and showed what it looked like. And it was real dark under there. Of course, that rubber underneath, is usually black, I guess. As long as you don't hit the bladder, I guess if you hear it psst and it's not your air assist, you're running too hot.
Yeah, Jason and I were trying to figure it out today, and he he had made a post on it, and before I texted him.
Oh yeah, that was Jason that did the ball, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we couldn't find the post he made. It was gone. It's vanished. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, he posted it in. I think he posted it in House of Lasers and the Global Thunder page. We couldn't find it anywhere. He had posted it one place, another page that I wasn't a subscriber of, and he showed me where to find it because I sent the pictures and said this is what I can do.
Right. That's weird. Well, Facebook search is weird anyway. It's akin to Ask Jeeves, I think. It's not Google by any means.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, everybody keeps sharing their stuff. It's great because it gives you a lot of ideas, and like I said, just kind of narrows down things that you can and can't do quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I see the evolution. I mean, the community is growing. I mean, and everybody's growing within themselves. It's just been awesome just to watch this whole thing, unfold. And hopefully that's going to lead to bigger and better things, which I know it will.
Yeah.
So cool,
Yep.
cool. Did Laura, did you ever get your audio going? I don't want to leave you out. I don't want to bug you either.
Her mic is green.
Yeah, she was having some audio issues. If not, you're welcome to call, or if you have a problem, or if you have a question that you wanted to ask, of course, you can give us a call or shoot me an email or something if you want to. So anyway, trying to make sure nobody else snuck in here when I wasn't looking. I don't know what Jason's got going on back there. He's doing something. Got his screen going. So
Is that your shipment in the picture?
I hope not, because I think it's supposed to already be en route. If it is, there's a problem.
I haven't even pulled my rotary out yet. Like, it's in the box still. Haven't had a chance to even mess with it yet.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. And, I'm finally getting to where I can start working on some other stuff. I did some tiles this weekend because I usually don't do anything. I don't ever have time to make things or just practice or just do stuff. It's always more, scientific or controlled than that. So I've been playing with slate, and, I've had lasers for 5 years, and that's probably only the third time I've ever done slate in my life. So
Yeah.
I'm playing a lot of catch up now that I'm starting to, free up a little bit of time to start working with the laser instead of on lasers for a little while. So
Right.
it's going to be good for me. But well, I don't really have anything else. Does anybody else have any questions? Joe, anyone? I was talking before we hit record. I'm still working on my virtual demo. This is more for people that are looking at Thunder, but going over some of the features and some of the stuff that we think makes it better. And I've dumped probably about 6 hours worth of video, and I've restarted twice, but I'm close to the end, and I can't wait to get that out. So that's what I'm going to work on the rest of the day and try to get my video hobbled together and get it in post so I can do some editing. So I don't really have anything else right now. So I guess if nobody has any closing comments, we'll call her good for this session, and we'll catch you next week. So, all right. Sounds good. Appreciate you guys.
Yep. Thanks, Brian.
Take care.
Bye all.
See you guys.
Bye.